The aim of aviation security shall be to safeguard international aviation operations against acts of unlawful interference. The safety of passengers, crew, ground personnel and the general public shall be the primary objective of each contracting state. Each contracting state therefore has a responsibility to establish security policy, plans and procedures, which together standardise the application of protective security measures across the globe, and is a system that allows rapid expansion to meet any increased threat. Each state shall, whenever possible, arrange for the security measures and procedures applied at its airports to cause minimum interference with, or delays to, the activities of international aviation. Each contracting state shall establish a national civil aviation security program, ensure that the objective of their security program is to safeguard international aviation operations against acts of unlawful interference through policies, plans and procedures that take account of the safety, regularity and efficiency of flights. Designate an appropriate authority within its administration to be responsible for the development, implementation and maintenance of the National Civil Aviation Security Programme. Specify to the ICAO the responsible national security authority. Keep under constant review the level of threat within its territory, taking into account the international situation, and adjust relevant elements of its National Civil Aviation Security Programme accordingly. Require the appropriate authority to establish means of coordinating activities between departments, agencies and other state organisations concerned with or responsible for aspects of the National Civil Aviation Security Policy. Require the appropriate authority to define and allocate the tasks for implementation of the National Civil Aviation Security Programme between the agencies of the state, airport administrations, operators, and others concerned with security operations. With regard to airport security, contracting states should ensure that the establishment of an airport security programme is adequate for the needs of each airport serving international air traffic. Make available to its airport administrators, operating airlines, and any others needing to know a written version of the appropriate elements of its National Civil Aviation Security Programme. Arrange for an authority at each airport serving international civil aviation to be responsible for coordinating the implementation of security measures. Arrange for the establishment of airport security committees to advise on the development and coordination of security measures and procedures at each airport serving international civil aviation. With regard to incident investigation and contingency planning, contracting states should ensure that arrangements are made for the investigation of suspected sabotage devices or other potential hazards at international airports and for their disposal. Ensure that duly authorised and suitably trained officers are available for deployment at international airports to assist in dealing with suspected or actual cases of unlawful interference with international civil aviation. Ensure that professional supporting services are available to the security services at each international airport. Ensure that contingency plans are developed and resources made available to safeguard international airports and ground facilities against unlawful interference. Training of security staff is of paramount importance, and contracting states must ensure that appropriate measures are in place to make this training effective. Contracting states should require the appropriate authority to ensure the development and implementation of training programs to ensure the effectiveness of the security structure, ensure that persons engaged to implement security controls are subject to pre-employment checks, are properly trained, and are capable of fulfilling their duties. With regard to the responsibilities of the operator, each contracting state should require the operator to implement a security program appropriate to meet the requirements of the National Civil Aviation Security Programme of the state, promote research and development of new security equipment, policies and procedures which will better satisfy civil aviation security objectives. In order to effectively combat international terrorism, contracting states are to act within a coordinated framework and to common standards. Each state is therefore required to cooperate with other states in order to adapt their respective national civil aviation security programs as necessary, make available to other states, on request, a written version of their civil aviation security program, include in its bilateral agreements on air transport a clause relating to aviation security, ensure that requests from other states for special security measures in respect of a specific flight or specified flights by operators of other states are, as far as practicable, met, cooperate with other states in the field of research and development of new security equipment, which will better satisfy the civil aviation security need, cooperate with each other in the development and exchange of information concerning training programs. Contracting states shall establish measures that prevent weapons, explosives, or any dangerous devices from being introduced by any means on board an aircraft engaged in international civil aviation. Each contracting state shall ensure that pre-flight checks of originating aircraft assigned to international flights include measures to discover suspicious objects or anomalies that could conceal weapons, explosives, or any other dangerous devices, establish procedures which include notification to the operator for inspecting aircraft when either a well-founded suspicion exists that the aircraft may be the object of an act of unlawful interference, or for concealed weapons, explosives, or other dangerous devices, establish measures to safeguard aircraft when a well-founded suspicion exists that the aircraft may be attacked while on the ground, and to provide as much prior notification as possible of the arrival of such aircraft to the airport authorities, arrange for surveys to identify security needs, arrange for security inspections of the implementation of security controls, and arrange tests of security controls to assess their effectiveness. Contracting states must ensure that the carriage of weapons on board aircraft by authorized personnel acting in accordance with their duties is authorized in accordance with the state's national laws. The pilot in command must be notified as to the number of armed persons and their seat location. The carriage of weapons on board an aircraft is allowed only when they are stowed in a place inaccessible to the passengers. States are to ensure that adequate security measures are in place to control the transfer of passengers and their cabin baggage. Passengers who have been security screened are not permitted to come into contact with those who have not been security screened. States are to establish measures to ensure that operators do not transport the baggage of passengers who are not on board the aircraft. States are required to establish procedures and identification systems to prevent unauthorized access by persons or vehicles to the airside of an aerodrome. Deportees and people in custody are to be dealt with in accordance with procedures laid down by contracting states that ensure that appropriate security measures are in place.